This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast for Wednesday, June 8th, Belleville, Ontario, Canada. The show began this morning with J-Man doing news at 6 like he always does.
Yes, he kicked it off.
And sports. And they did the weather. And then Charity and I alerted the world that there was one winning ticket in the Lotto Max draw of $70 million, which in Canada is still a lot of money this year. Like I know money doesn't go as far as it normally does, but 70 million gets it done in Canada these days. That ticket was purchased in Quebec. So unless you are as part of a group, which includes family in Quebec, or you crossed the border, bought a ticket and slipped back home, or you're listening in Ottawa and you bought it in Gatineau, whatever, $70 million.
Did you know how many of the Max Millions went?
No.
Just out of curiosity, because we didn't talk about that, because there were 47 available. 18.
18 of the 48.
Out of the 47.
47?
Yes.
So
47 were available.
So you're saying there's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
I got a ticket on my bureau at home.
Max Million winners. And $1 million would be great, too.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
Do I have to split with you? You and I had a verbal discussion, but did you buy a ticket last night?
Around, no.
Okay.
No, because we were...
So I'd have to just be generous. Legally, I wouldn't owe you anything.
If you chose something. Well, would you be legal? Well, yes, if we both went in on a ticket.
Right.
Legally.
Yeah. But you didn't give me any money, and you said,
so there was no money exchanging hands.
You buy a ticket, and you didn't buy a ticket.
No verbal agreement.
Right.
So it would be all yours. That's not to say you couldn't share it.
True. Oh, it's totally up to me then.
So, yes, but
you
it is
couldn't
up to
sue
you.
me if I didn't.
No, I couldn't.
Because I came a poll this morning that said that 83% of people, if they won at least $1 million or more in a lottery, 83% said they would tell nobody.
Not family, not friends.
Zilch.
Nobody.
How do you keep that secret?
If you won $70 million.
Oh, if you won 70. I've said before.
Sorry, even $1 million.
Right. I've said if I won $70 million, I can't stay in Belleville.
Not that much.
It's too much money.
People would be calling and showing up.
The town is too small.
Yes.
And you could do all the good you want to hospitals and United Way and your favorite charities and churches, and you could do so much, but you would still be too famous for people that want to get their hands on it for something. You'd have to either move to another similar sized town if you like the size, which I love, and I love the geography. It's so close to all the outdoor stuff we love to do. Or you'd have to go to Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal and disappear. If you had $70 million, then nobody would care.
So if Mark ever disappears, we know he won the $70 million.
No, I tell you.
But even $1 million,
$1 million.
I could see that, because until it was in my hands, until we had a plan, until things were even for $1 million, I probably wouldn't tell people.
No, I wouldn't either.
I'd probably keep it very quiet until everything was allotted for and everything was set.
Yep.
And we knew what we were doing and how it was going to go.
You and Wayne have had the discussion, though, right?
Of course we have. Who doesn't have that conversation?
20% of people in the survey said they'd never bought a lottery ticket.
You're lying.
Yeah. Well, I'm not accusing you of lying. Like maybe you buy it occasionally. Yeah.
You got to be lying.
Because it's sort of like, I wouldn't do it. Like virtue signaling. Okay, we all dabble and we all have the discussion of what we would do. The amount of Kath and I have always had, what's the minimal amount that becomes life-changing? Like, what's the minimal amount that has gone from, that's a nice windfall, to life-changing? What would you say that amount is? Because for us, it's $250,000.
Okay. The minimal amount?
Because our house is paid off, so we're lucky that way. Because it would have to be enough to pay off your mortgage.
We still have a mortgage.
You want to put money away for the boys, for education.
So probably...
So for it to be life-changing...
The minimal amount, I would say probably $500,000.
$500,000, right.
And that would make it comfortable. That would be
exactly.
We would be
and anything above that
would be great. Yeah,
great.
Bonus.
But $500,000 goes from being like $10,000 is a windfall. And love it. That's a great story. I tell anybody. My phone isn't going to ring because nobody thinks I'm going to give them any of that. But once you start getting up over $1 million, your phone starts ringing. So who would you give the money to? 58% of people said that they would share it with coworkers. Only 38% said family.
I love this. I love this.
I do too, because I understand they don't mean spouse and kids.
Not your immediate family or even parents. They're talking, I think, maybe extended, the aunts and uncles, the cousins you may not have seen in years.
That second cousin who's a real trash jerk who you never hear from, and then all of a sudden gets your number and phones up and says, hey, my favorite relative. You know why they're calling, but your coworkers you see every day. You hear their struggles. You know that their kids are... or the more you whatever, it's like, you know what? If I gave them $5,000, I know it would do some good and I want to do it because I like them. We're more likely to do that than to give it to a distant relative. That came out of that survey this morning. 83% of people said they would keep it a secret. Yeah, but 88% said they would donate some of that money.
Well, I don't want to say you have to, but especially with 70 million.
Yeah. Not the 500,000 because you've got that pegged for your life.
You know what?
I'm not saying you're not generous.
500,000 too might even include donations here and there too. If we could, absolutely.
To a favor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give a little bit here, give a little bit there. But I think people, that's a big thing for a lot of people. They have their organizations, they have their groups, they have their causes.
Exactly.
That they want to help support.
They asked them, if you won $1 million, how much of it would you share with your partner? And immediately, like an alarm went off, like 50-50. Like I don't differentiate. If my wife or I won the jackpot, it's ours. It's not, well, I won it with my ticket. Here, you get an allowance.
But again, I think it comes down to legalities, isn't it? Because legally, you share.
They say partners. Yeah, I get
if you're married.
Right.
But if it's just a girlfriend or boyfriend.
Or a common law situation where you're not exactly at the point where legally what's mine is yours now that you're not together. So of the million, the average survey person said, I would give them $280,000. And they said, okay, now, they won the $1 million. How much do you expect? And the vast majority of them said half. So, okay.
So they don't want to give it up, but you better give me half.
And then the scary part at the bottom is what percentage of them said if you won $1 million, your marriage is over. You would walk away. You now have the freedom to walk away from this marriage. And that answer was 2%. 2% of people said flat out. Yeah. What's the first thing you would do? Get a divorce. I'm taking my $1 million.
If you're waiting for that windfall, if that's what's going to push over the edge to leave,
that's kind of sad too.
It is kind of sad,
especially if you're in a toxic situation where you can't get out because you don't have the money. But oh my gosh, I want $1 million. To me, that isn't just freedom; that's safety. Bye.
Absolutely. Then I can see. Yes, that would be. That would be a reason for. Of course, I look at the other side and just laugh about it, thinking that.
Yeah. Hey, honey, we won $1 million.
I want some money. I'm out.
What's the we? Get out. $70 million, though. If it turns out to be one person, here's the plan. I think we talked about it on the podcast before. I think $5 million stays in Mark and Kathy's spending account. So we go build the cottage. We go to Muskoka, Kawartha, and we build something like that. We take care of our children who are renting. Nope, you're now going to become owners. And we're going to take care of that. We're going to give them their cars. And then the rest of it is going to be just living the rest of our life. But the other $65 million, and I don't know the legalities, so I'm going to have to learn how to do it. Trust fund. And if you were to put it into a 1% GIC, and why would you? You could probably lock it in for better than that. But 1% on $65 million is what, $650,000? Every year in interest, and that money would go to charity perpetually. Not you, because I would look after you too.
Oh, well, thank you.
$100,000 to the hospital here, each one of the hospitals in the area, $50,000 to the United Way.
So now everybody's going to be pulling for you, Mark. They're going to have their fingers crossed and be like, Philman needs to win this.
But I guess my point is, why? I'm not saying you're a jerk if you don't, but when I hear of professional athletes or a thing like Johnny Depp that went through it, where he owned so many houses, and when his life fell on the rocks, he lost $50 million. Like, who needs that money? Like, I know you've got a lifestyle to live as a professional athlete.
I know we're not going to talk about the golfing, but look what they're getting paid this weekend to spend a weekend golfing. Like we said, $70 million was too much for one person. Yeah. They're getting paid $200 million to put their name or to be one of the ones that attend the Saudi-backed
for Phil Mickelson to say, I give up my PGA Tour
Forever.
card and I sign with you before I've struck a golf ball.
Yeah.
Here's a check for $200 million.
Just for making the jump. Not playing, not winning. Just
by the way, if you win next week,
who needs that?
You get $6 million.
What are you going to do with $200? He could stop playing. He could do this and then walk away and just play golf on Saturdays or every day of the week if you wanted for fun.
Dustin Johnson gets $125 million.
Same with him.
And you asked the question that didn't even occur to me. I wonder what his father-in-law, Wayne Gretzky, a professional athlete, felt about him jumping over to the Saudi-backed league, because that's all the controversy.
As a father, I would think you would see the chance here. Okay, this sets up my daughter and my grandkids.
Yep.
He's making a choice that will keep them comfortable and safe, and I don't have to worry about them financially ever again. He's done. But at the same time, being an athlete himself and being part of an organization, yes, that went through its ups and downs and still does, but being very successful at it, being one of the greatest. And a lot of that sport
is based on his reputation. So it would mean a lot to Wayne Gretzky to maintain this reputation, his brand.
By changing or by leaving the PGA, does it hurt now Dustin's brand or Dustin's name or his where does that take him in his career now? Is it a good move?
And people say,
I would be curious to know what he had to say.
Are you going to sleep at night because of the Saudi backed where the money is and the human rights abuses and the treatment of women and on and on and on?
But you made some good points.
But Graham McDowell also came out and he said, look, I'm not a politician. I understand. And then a reporter went at him and started literally saying, do you know in March they executed 81 people for being gay? And then they went the way women can't maintain the whole thing. And it's like, you're saying you're going to hold your nose to that just to take their money when you're already an extremely wealthy person. So when there's too much. So, and Graham McDowell, I'm going to say, this doesn't sound right. I was going to say to his credit, had no answer. He didn't continue to dig the hole and sort of backtrack. It was sort of like, no, But
you know what?
I understand.
You had an excellent argument for that. And you shone light on the fact that a lot of these reporters, especially coming from the U.S., have been very hypocritical about their criticism when it comes to these golfers leaving the PGA and going to play.
Last night I was listening to a national sports discussion who was really dumping on Phil and Dustin Johnson for leaving and going to this where all of the money is. And what bothered me is this same individual 5 or 6 years ago during the Colin Kaepernick caper was dumping on athletes taking political stands. And the line that came out of it was when LeBron would say something, they would say, look,
just play ball.
Shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
That's your job. Don't weigh in on politics. Just go do your sport. Okay. So what Dustin Johnson does is what every American is encouraged to do from diapers to death, and that is get as much money as you can. It's free enterprise, it's democracy, it's the American dream. So somebody's going to give me $125 million. Oh, but wait a minute. Do you know there are human rights abuses? So I thought, let's take it a step further. It's a Canadian Open this weekend. What if Corey Connors, one of the great Canadian golfers right now from Listowel, Ontario, where I used to live nearby, were to get up at the press conference and say, I'm going to drop my PGA Tour card. He's not going to go over to that league. I'm just not going to drop it because I don't want to be part of an organization, the PGA, whose head office is in a country where they kill students in schools and don't do anything about it.
I was just going to say, if they want to list all the atrocities that the Saudi Arabians do, and I'm not
and I'm not saying they're as bad, but wait a minute. Yeah,
let's list what America has done in the last 6 months.
Hey, squeaky clean.
Yeah. You want to talk about human rights issues? I would think people of color, I would think anyone who's gay, lesbian, would have something to say about that.
The abortion issue.
Women having the right to have an abortion, huge one. And yes, gun violence, huge. In fact, this morning I read that I think it was 44% of Republicans say, you know what, you just have to accept it.
Gotta accept it.
It's just going to happen. And so seeing and hearing that kind of attitude and the things that go on down there for them to, and again, I'm not saying it's as bad.
Yeah, but again,
I don't believe it is.
Yeah.
But you are not perfect. And there's a lot of things that Americans have to work on as well. So before you start throwing stones,
right?
How about you look in the mirror? a little bit.
And then we had a text where somebody said, yeah, like what's the difference then if you didn't make it in the NHL or you wanted to keep your career going, you went and you played in the KHL in Russia.
Oh, well,
Russia
or China.
They have human rights abuses. Why are we allowing people to go play there and say nothing? But all of a sudden, golf in Saudi Arabia is the hot button issue.
Yep.
And the hypocrisy. And that's what struck me. And it's like, you're protesting too much at this point now. Mm-hmm. You're really, like somehow you're squeaky clean in all of this.
We weren't going to talk about this.
But there it is. And I think because it's the weekend of the Canadian Open, it's like,
that kicked out. And I saw they had Weir do a commentary last night. It was really good. I have to say.
Mike Weir's a great guy.
Yeah, they asked him to do a bit of it, like a voiceover of sorts through, and it was a montage, and he's talking about all of his memories and what it means to him. And it was really well done, I have to say. It was pretty cool. It was not that you forget, but it's nice to be reminded that we have these athletes here too. Like we have some pretty big names in golf as well, and what it really does mean to them to be a part of, not just the RBC tournament or the PGA or where they play. It's just really cool to hear about their experiences.
I have two Mike Weir stories, if I may.
Sure, go for it.
First one is before anybody knew who Mike Weir was, including me, I was playing at a golf tournament or a golf course in Brights Grove, where my parents lived, which is just outside Sarnia. And I wish I could remember the name of the golf course because it was Mike Weir's golf course. He was from Brights Grove, Ontario. And somebody drove up and said, Mike Weir is just finished top 10 or whatever on the PGA Tour. And I said, I don't know who Mike Weir is. And the guy said, he explained he's a young pro and whole thing. And he went down and he said, this is his home course. So that's amazing. Like
that's pretty cool.
When was that? When this was his home course. And he said, he was here Tuesday. So he was like, he got the qualifier on Monday. He came home to do whatever. Because I guess it was nearby. I think the pro tournament that weekend was in Michigan or something. So he came back, did some of his work here on the golf course. He said, he'll probably be back here next week. So he still kept ties. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was amazing. So when I went into the clubhouse, there were pictures of it. And he wasn't Mike Weir yet. He was Mike Weir, who played here and was trying to make a go of it. And then the other one was the devastating year when Mike Weir almost won the Canadian Open. And somebody here in Belleville was a volunteer at the Canadian Open that went down. So you get to be like a marshal, you park cars, you literally do whatever they ask. And Vijay Singh beat him. And Vijay Singh was asked going into what are your chances? What are you hoping for this week? And he said, I'm hoping I beat everybody but Mike Weir. Because everybody knew a Canadian hadn't won so long. Mike Weir's playing great. The pressure that was on him to win it, they knew it. Mike Weir had the lead Sunday afternoon on the back nine. And something horrible happened. I don't remember all the details. Vijay Singh caught him, tied him. They went to a playoff. Vijay Singh won in a playoff. So the local guy here in Belleville was telling me a story. He says, so my job at that point, that says to go down and clean the locker room. Well, everybody's gone because it went to a playoff. So there was nobody in the locker room, but Vijay Singh and Mike Weir were going to come back after. Mm-hmm. So he's in there working. He doesn't know how many holes it goes. I think it only went one.
Okay.
So he's working. He's unaware of that when suddenly the door opens and Vijay Singh walks in. So he knows it's over. Vijay Singh goes to his locker. He doesn't know what happened. You can't tell by Vijay Singh's reaction that he had won or lost.
Yeah.
Mike Weir walked in maybe 10 minutes later, walked over to a sink and grabbed the sides of the sink and sobbed. And the guy said, 10, 15 feet away, Vijay Singh is at his locker, said nothing. And his point was, what could you say? He didn't gloat. He didn't come in going, yeah. He came in, Vijay Singh came in with zero enthusiasm for the win. He said that was also when Mike Weir started to sob, my cue to leave.
Yes.
So he said, it is quite likely that when I left, Vijay Singh realized they were alone, then went over.
Said something.
Hugged him, did whatever, but he didn't want to make a show in front of this guy. He said Mike Weir sobbed that he lost the Canadian Open, the pressure he was on. So to hear him still want to do such great things in golf says everything to Mike Weir. And of course, his Masters win was one for the ages and did so much for Canadian golf.
Well, how much he loves the sport. Yeah. That's what it was. When he was talking about it, it was a genuine love and appreciation for golf and for a sport that I always thought was so boring. And It was something you nap to on Sunday afternoon.
Right. Let me know when they get to 17.
As I've gotten older, I appreciate the skill and the athleticism it does take to, and the mental side of it too, because as you just pointed out, going in there afterwards and the pressure and it takes a lot. So I
was never aware of it until Tiger Woods came around and talked about it, and then you watch the people on Sunday who are paired with Tiger melt like butter. And I was thinking, you're fighting yourself and your own demons in the golf course. You're not really fighting an opponent. It's not like a boxing match.
You get stuck in your head.
It's a mental boxing match.
And we've seen it in Tiger too. Like he when he gets stuck in his head, it's obvious. Like you see it, and it is not pretty, and it is not good to watch. Yeah. I will say that I don't know if that's the case as much anymore when people are paired with Tiger.
But I mean,
there's always that moment of when you see him of, okay.
And now it's like going into a recording studio and seeing Paul McCartney there. It's like, oh my gosh, there's my idol. I get to play a round of golf. I get to sing a song with. I get to do whatever. So interesting. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the bad roads. But we had a lot of fun with that this morning.
We did, and thank you to everybody who have commented already with their favorites.
Because we got so much more on social media on the roads that we didn't talk about. The CAA list is out, and the top 3 were Highway 49 or County Road 49 in Prince Edward County. Was it Barker Street in Picton, and Bridge Street West here in Belleville.
Those were the local roads mentioned.
And we no sooner mentioned it than somebody texted in and said, oh my God, they're filling in potholes on Bridge Street. You guys are amazing.
The magic of radio.
And there we are.
We just wave our wand and
we use our force for good. Thank you. Anything else we can do, you just be sure to let us know. But so many other roads have been up there, from Carrying Place,
Sterling.
People have got roads, Sterling. So we'll have a more detailed list. We'll talk about bad roads some more. And get on our socials and fill it out. We'll have some fun with that. It's also our Throwback Thursday back to 2001. June, ladies ruled the charts.
Oh my gosh.
We've got 5 of them. 4 on one song, Lady Marmalade, from Christina Aguilera, Lil' Kim, Maya, and Pink, versus Janet Jackson's All For You, the top 2 songs on the chart. Get your votes in. Winning 21 years after the 8 o'clock news. Brought to you by Burger Revolution. So we got that coming up tomorrow morning. And lots more when you wake up with Mark and Charity Mornings. Have a great Wednesday.